Now hey guys, welcome back to the channel and another Swisher01 video. And today it is time for another episode of my little discovering very interesting places all around the world series. Today, let's actually go to the Caribbean. We're on a random small island again. This one right here is called the Mystique Island. Actually, this is one of the more exquisite places in the Caribbean, I would say. Tickets here are way more expensive. This island is not very well accessible, which is why beaches are always empty. You know, again, this is a little bit of a more exquisite place. Now, yes, even a small island like this has to have its own airport, which this one does. This is the Mystique Airport. This is a very interesting one. This is actually a privately owned airfield. The Mystique company owns this one, even though this is for actual public use. You know, normally airports are owned by the government. This one isn't. This is actually the only airport in the country that is owned privately. Now, not only that is interesting about this airport, the other very interesting part about this airport is obviously the runway. As you can see right here, this is actually not too short of a runway, is it? At least that's how it seems, but when you think about it, pretty much half of the runway is taken away by the displaced threshold. You know, the one with the arrows on it. Honestly, I don't really see that much of a reason to make it that long, but there's a pretty good explanation for it probably. Oh yeah, I already see. As you can see right here on final approach on runway 09er, there is this mountain and some obstacles here that you do not want to hit, so it makes sense that planes will not touch down here but actually here. Now, something else that makes this runway pretty interesting is that you only land on the runway 09 side, obviously, which is, by the way, the reason only the 09er side is painted. We have these very interesting markings on here that says STOL, which, by the way, describes this runway very, very well. STOL stands for, you know, planes that don't need a long runway. That is something that I've never really seen before, this kind of marking. But as you can see right here on the 18 side, there is no marking, which makes sense because there's also this mountain here in front of the runway, which means that landing here on this side of the runway doesn't work. But taking off from this airport actually only works from this side, from the 18 side. Does this all make sense? I guess it does. Which is why the displaced threshold is here. You know, for example, if there is a runway overrun on the takeoff, then at least planes have a little bit of this displaced threshold left to stop in time. Does that make sense? I think it does. Now yes, this runway is, by the way, a little bit less than a kilometer long. So only small planes or stall planes perhaps are able to fly here. Now we have planes like the Cessna 172 that you can commonly see here. Let's actually do a takeoff. Let's just cheat ourselves onto the runway already. Now this airport is quite nicely detailed here in the X-Plane 11 flight simulator. Actually, this might be one of the last X-Plane 11 videos ever, because you know Microsoft Flight Simulator is coming out tomorrow on the 18th of August. This is gonna be very interesting. Of course, I'm gonna do a review immediately, like a very comprehensive one, a very big one. So just mentally prepare for tomorrow. This is gonna be a really nice thing. All right. Now this takeoff in a Cessna 172 obviously wasn't no issue at all. I mean, it would have been weird if it was. No worries. So we can move on to a bigger plane that also flies here. Should we use the Twin Otter? I guess we don't have that one yet in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. So no, for the last time, I guess we're gonna use it. Now the airlines that actually fly here is SVG Airlines, which is the national airlines of the Caribbean basically. There's also Mystique Airways, which kind of belongs to this island, I guess, and they all fly planes like the Twin Otter. We don't have the proper livery for all these airlines, but whatever. Let's just go ahead and land this plane down here. And all these airlines, they connect this place with quite a lot of you know, islands in the area. The biggest one is Barbados, obviously. You can get a lot of connection flights from that island, but there's also the island of St. Vincent, which is kind of like the big one in the area. Does that make sense? I think it does. And you know, that's really how you get to this quite remote place, you know, especially if you fly from somewhere from Europe. This is going to be a pretty long adventure. So I'll be flying to Miami and then to St. Vincent and then finally taking a plane to Mystique Island. All right, as I've said, we have these obstacles here, which I'm not very comfortable flying close to, but there we go. We're looking good on this landing. Or not. Okay, yeah, I really tried touching down because I was kind of late, but whatever. This was a successful landing, wasn't it? See, I applied reverse thrust in mid-air in order to get this plane down to the ground. probably didn't do a lot for the smoothness of the landing, but honestly, this was a fine enough touchdown anyway. You know, 600 feet per minute might just be a little bit a backlashing problem creating. That was weird. Whatever, I think our passengers all survived. How do we move on? The Twin Otter is already the biggest plane that flies here. Let's maybe try some more exotic planes as well here. The Saab 340, we don't have that in Microsoft Flight Simulator either. So, you know, we gotta use what we can use now. All right, welcome aboard the pretty much bigger Saab 340 actually. But this plane is another turboprop, meaning that it doesn't need a long runway, does it? Okay, that was actually an acceptable landing according to the flight simulator, right? And an acceptable stop as well. This was perfectly safe, no worries at all. The Saab 340 is able to fly here as well. You know, actually this might make a lot of sense here, you know, to transport a few more passengers. Even though, as I've already said, they don't really want that here. They want to stay a little bit more exquisite, but whatever, okay? You know what, this was actually pretty good. Now, this runway actually, it kind of sucks really. There's no lighting, no runway lighting. There's obviously no ILS or anything. You can only fly here in broad daylight in perfect conditions. So no rain allowed, even though that's not that much of a thing in the Caribbean anyway. Oh goodness. Yeah, we are aboard the Dash 8, the Q400. I don't really like this one. Oh, come on. Oh, yeah. See, we've had landings like this a lot here in this plane. It does take a while to actually learn to land this plane. I don't really fly it a lot, so this landing very much sucked. But this was a successful land. I mean, we stopped, right? This was more of a crash at this point. Oh my god. Obviously, the plane would have fallen apart in real life, but we're all good. Talking about falling apart on a landing, let me just roll the infamous clip of the MD-80 falling apart. Let's try an MD-80. The thing is actually that the MD-80 is a lot bigger than people think. This is not a small plane, is it? And this is also a jet plane. This one doesn't even come close to being a stall plane, right? This will definitely be a very interesting landing. All right, prepare for a hard landing. Wasted. Okay, I think this will be a stop. That was actually alright. We still have a little bit of the runway left. This was a pretty safe operation as well in the MD-80. Let's just see that landing. I mean, on paper, it was again not a very safe landing, was it? Oh, but it was definitely a survivable one, I hope, I guess. For some reason, the spoilers didn't come out, which I'm not really appreciating, but anyway, this was a good enough landing, right? Okay, let's actually move on to the Boss 737 Max. I mean, you know what? This is actually not that unrealistic. This might work. All right, let's actually try doing the infamous takeoff. This will actually probably work out, right? I mean, again, thanks to this displaced threshold, which gives us a lot more runway to roll. I think we can already take off. There we go. Oh no. Oh wait, never mind. Oh Jesus. Okay, this is actually a little close, especially with this mountain here. But you know what? This was a fine enough takeoff, but using a bigger plane will definitely be a very interesting operation, right? There we go. Nose came slowly up, very close to a tail strike, and very close to hitting some trees here. Oh, okay, 757 it is. We're a little fast here on this landing. Let's see if we can make this. Come on. Oh, never mind. Mountain ahead. Okay, now it's actually wasted. Oh, goodness. All right, we completely broke our plane now. That was not good. Yeah, we were a little fast on the landing as well. This really didn't work out at all. But maybe let's try using a bigger plane. That will work out. You know what? I actually have a pretty good idea. The 747-8 always, you know, surprises us with our very interesting stopping performance. We actually have this plane in Microsoft Flight Simulator as well, so this might be nice to adapt a little bit, right? All right, welcome aboard the 747-8. The only problem that this plane has is the engine sounds are not working properly, so this is pretty blank now. This is probably fixed in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020, isn't it? Okay, now let's see if we can get this plane landed down here. To be honest, you know what, chances are not looking too bad if you think about it. These four engines, they do help us stop, you know, the reverse thrust and the brakes and all that stuff. I mean, this plane, it has a lot of landing gear, a lot of surface that can make it stop, which it does, actually. So let's go ahead and get this plane landed. Oh, goodness. Oh, no, that was an early touchdown, huh? Okay, time for the landing and time for the stop, especially. Okay, that was actually quite embarrassing. I tried really hard on this landing and we impacted the mountain. I didn't even need to do that because this plane is able to stop anyway. I mean, obviously right now we have engines hanging over grass, which is something we really do not want when you have reverse thrust going on. Oh, and that tower is gone as well. But, you know, this actually worked out quite well, didn't it? See, Mystique, you don't have to be this careful about your stall thing. You can fly bigger planes here than the Cessna. The Saab 340, again, is probably perfect for this place. Or a plane of a similar size. You know, it's a little bit bigger than the little Twin Otter, but it can also stop without any issues here at this place. So yeah, guys, thank you for watching today's video, and I'll see you tomorrow as always. Good night. Tomorrow will be special. I've said that already.